Okay, so I'm gonna be casting Will's second ranked game. Um, this is Berbers versus Franks. Will's in the blue, and the map is Arena. And I'm gonna do this with Fog of War on just to see how I might do things differently from a adapting perspective or map control perspective. Um, so let's spend like 2 minutes talking about the matchup. So let's start with the Berbers first. They have a really strong um, stable in that they have bloodlines, they have cavalier, they have husbandry, they have fully upgraded knights in terms of armor and melee. They don't have paladin like the Franks do, but they do get minus 20% cost on the stable units. And that's usually like really insane from an eco's perspective. Like their eco is not about having workers that gather more resources faster or anything like that. It's just a pure discount on their strongest units. In something like Arena, where castles can play a role, the other thing to watch out for is this Camel Archer. It's kind of like a Mengadai, except a little bit weaker. They don't have a bonus against siege, for example, but this could be really troublesome if they're able to get into a composition like Camel Archers, Elite Camel Archers, plus, let's say, pikemen or something to defend. They don't have halberdier, but they do have fully upgraded pikemen. So something to watch out for. And their siege options, I believe, yep, they get bombard cannon. So that's something to also be cautious of. They can once you hit Imperial Age and you have chemistry researched, they don't need to rely on castles. And then this, I don't think this will come too much into play. They're known for like Genitors, which is kind of finicky. That's usually better against archer civs. They can go cav archers, though that doesn't really make sense as Berbers. And then if for some reason the Franks player goes way heavy into pikemen, I guess they do have the option of the hand cannoneer. So on paper, it's actually very similar to the Frank tech tree. Franks also get hand cannoneer. They do have halberdier, which is a little bit better. Franks don't get camels, but they have really strong knights. And then similarly, they have bombard cannon and a generally pretty good tech tree. So it's going to be weird. These are two really strong cavalry civs, and then of course the throwing axemen for the Franks. So the way the meta should play out, obviously both players will go fast castle into boom because you got the nice defended walls. And then from there, it really depends on like how you guys want to play. As we know, there's relics on this map, right? There's like, I think there's 5. So if you're playing for the late game, you want to have some scouts out to basically defend the relics, to patrol around them and snipe any monks that may get over there. If you don't want to contest relics and you just want to focus on getting to like Imperial Age faster or something, don't bother with building units. That's fine. Franks, I think their biggest advantage is their cheaper castles in this matchup. They can get map control with their cheaper castles, and then it also allows them to defend their castles better because you have floating stone once those castles start to get trebbed down. So we'll see how this kind of plays out. Early on, nothing really happens. It's just kind of like a free boom to castle. Oh, you're really close to your enemy here. Holy cow. That's crazy close. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Fast castle build. Yeah, I would say this is probably a little bit too much on wood early on. You see how you're floating 300 food. Four is fine. You can also mill the deer to get some extra food. Yeah, this is a little bit too much on wood, I would say. The standard fast castle build is usually like having like 7 is almost enough, at least from Dark Age through Feudal Age, and you don't even need to invest in a second lumber camp. It's usually like when you get to like more than 8 villagers on a lumber camp, they bump too much and it's inefficient. But this wood would be better saved for building a crap ton of farms. But anyway, I like how you're going to the berries, because Franks get that berry bonus. Without peeking too much at the Vil count, it's hard to not look at it. It looks like you're doing pretty well. They're heading feudal faster than you, but it doesn't seem like you have too much idle time. But yeah, you got the issue is you're floating 500 wood. The ideal build order is you like have just enough wood to build a blacksmith market, and then you immediately tech up. But his feudal time almost seems like he wants to do some kind of a rush, which makes no sense because you know you're fully walled. It hurts your economy to go up that fast. 1 on stone is fine. Now you need so you're missing. Oh shit, you're missing at this point in time. I think you're gonna be actually lacking a little bit of wood. Yeah, interesting. I wonder. I think the issue was you over invested into farms. Farms are good later on, but like right now because you just hit feudal age, you want to pretty quickly, because you can like force drop and get the food, right? You wanted to like save that wood to immediately go castle or excuse me, blacksmith and market. So I think there's a couple 2 farms too much, but that's okay. It's just it'll impact your castle age time. No biggie. Barracks. Yeah, I would have neglected the barracks here. You can build a barracks later on your way up to castle age, and save that wood for blacksmith market. And you always put 2 on the market because the market takes longer to build. So 2 villagers is pretty standard. Anyway, these are just minor things to kind of improve your fast castle time in the future. Because now you've got way more food and stone necessary for castle, and he's teched castle age faster than you. So, but all in all, I mean, you guys are pretty similar. It looks like he's 1 vil ahead worth of idle time. Now here's your stable. Good. This would be the time if you want to contest relics. As you can see here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 relics visible. That's the time to like build a couple scouts and just kind of patrol the map. The other thing that scouts are nice for is like in case you lose your starting scout, they can kind of hover on the wall, see if the opponent's trying to push out and expand or do a castle or something, just to kind of try to see what they're up to. But if the Berber plays meta, and we'll see if this happens, they should go heavy into knights and camels. And if they do that, once we get there, we'll talk about what the best counter is. Monks, excellent. You seem to know how to play arena. Oh, interesting. So you're opting to go pikes. You're preemptively making some pikes, I guess, because you're assuming they're gonna have the matchup. Maybe putting a couple of folks on the field. Okay. I think the pikes might be a little bit early. You can contest the relics with just knights. Like I think what you're probably thinking is to have the pikes come out in case their scouts are defending the relics, and then you can poke them with your spearmen or pikemen here. But teching into pikes is probably a little premature. I think that would have been better invested into the 3 TC booming, because of that extra food. But anyway, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. Here's your 3rd TC. Okay, all right. So now you've got some. I'm gonna slow it down, I guess. You got some intel. You know they're going camels. Okay, so Berbers going camels, and you saw. I think they have +2. I didn't click it fast enough. I'm pretty sure they have +2/+2 armor. So the best composition or the best way to deal with camels is pikes, which you've got, and monks, which you've also got. So you're actually pretty well situated. Camels are weak to knights. Camels are weak to monks, and they really, really are weak to pikemen. They deal like very little damage. The bonus damage from knights completely negates it, whereas like a knight actually fights pretty evenly with pikes, even though it's a counter unit. So yeah, having a balance of knights and pikes is definitely the way to go. I would also put some more on stone now. It's all about getting map control, because this game will probably go late. He's gonna have the ability to spam a crap ton of units, and then I would start getting some castles and whatever, because he's never going to be able to fight your pikes, right? The Berbers' only chance at fighting pikes is maybe in the late game with Genitors. That's not really an option here. They're very unlikely to go into skirms or something, and they're very unlikely to go into crossbow because they don't have arbalests in Imperial Age. So pikes is actually a pretty good bet right now, and supplement them with a couple monks. You got the relic. I would so. Oh, he's trying to convert. Okay. Nope, he's got one. Oh yeah, watch out for the scout sniping your monk. Nice. Some action. Yeah, you can see how how little camels do. Like one pike can almost take like 3 camels. So anyway, I like what you're doing with the meta. You seem to know Berber's strength, and you're contesting it. And now here's the thing: is you got to really wind up for your economy. You got 12 on food, which is not enough. You got to have 18 on food without wheelbarrow to sustain constant vil production. And you just seem to be making some pikes anyway, right? So you got to have like 20, ideally like closer to 25, 30 on gold. And because you're not like getting, you're not making as many like all-in night strategy, which I like. You're kind of saving your gold. You can keep this balance as is, right? You're focusing on countering your opponents for now. I would put more on stone right now. I definitely think now is a good time to, like, because you have map control, they can't really fight this army. Get that stone, get the 488 stone it costs to build a castle, get some castles here to secure. And even if they take down the castles later, it just buys you time, right? Castles are pretty tough to deal with. But yeah, the biggest issue at this point in time is you've got way too many on wood. And that's a common issue because of rally points. Alright, so this is whatever. Yeah, camels kind of suck. I would also research. Oh, I think one mistake here is you didn't research the armor. You need melee armor upgrades, because look, the camel's got 6 attack. That's why it's pretty weak. But if you don't have melee armor upgrades, it's still doing okay, right? It's like 6 attack out of 55 HP. But if you've got +2, it's the only 4 attack every hit, which is huge. Your pikeman's got all the bonus damage that's not reflected in this number. So yeah, consider getting tech armor upgrades on pikes. At this point, you might as well just use your market to buy food or something. It's gonna. I see you're trying to fix it, but it's taking some time. Yeah, this is all fine. This is fine. Y'all are fighting for relics. This is fine. Yeah, idle TC. Need still more. You still gotta shoot for like 25. I think that's the part that's hurting you the most right now. Just 30 on wood is way too much. Just like. Do this. Yeah, there you go. I think I know what. Yep, perfect. Perfect. Meanwhile, you're minding this area. That's fine. Oh, he seems to be wanting to do something here. I'm assuming it's a TC maybe, or maybe a castle. Sometimes it's good to just like have send one out here. They cost nothing and they give you information. And then when I mentioned earlier about the scouts, it's not like you've lost your scouts by now. But that's why it's nice to have the scouts alive, and just kind of running. Like nothing can really chase down a scout, right? Unless it like gets trapped by a pikeman or something. So if you run it around the map, you might be able to see, is he starting to break out of his walls? Some people like that play really aggressive. They'll delete their walls, and then they'll just like straight up do a major push in late castle or something with rams or whatever. But it's always good to kind of see what buildings he's got. If he's starting to see like archery ranges, for example, maybe he's starting to tech into Genitors for the late game, or he's thinking about like maybe hand cannons for the late game in Imperial Age. But it's always good to try to get as much vision as you can. Even outposts might be good here. All right, so here's his castle. So this is the issue, is that you kind of conceded a little bit of this space. Like when you had this many pikemen and they were just wandering around, if you had more on stone earlier, you could have had a much earlier castle and even consider a forward castle, which puts the pressure on the opponent. But now you're kind of gonna, this castle's going to go up. There's no way it's not. Is there? It's gonna go up. Yeah, it's gonna go up. Oh, look at that walling. What a pro. Okay, so now you know he's got a castle. That's fine. You should consider figuring out how to tread it down, right? And I like that this castle, yeah, this is good. Your castle's defending a resource. His castle's just kind of defending the base. Like, you can always attack here or loop around and attack here. This castle's actually not the best. Like, if I, oh, there's no hills on arena, but, you know, if I were the red player, I would put it, like, here or something. You might have another one, though. We'll see. But yeah, like, use your bonus. Use the Frank's power, right, with the cheaper castles use it to secure the map, and then that also gives you the option to go into throw in Axeman should he tech into a bunch of like let's say champions or something to fight your pikemen. But this is good. Yeah, Imperial Age. This is not a bad Imperial time. 33, researching up. You click up around, or you'll hit Imperial Age around 35, 36. It's not bad. This is kind of dumb, but this is actually a little bit dangerous for you, because if he hits Imperial before you, he'll have 2 castles worth of trebuchet production, so that's kind of sketchy. But in general, you never want to put 2 castles in the same spot, because you'd rather have it to spread out to defend your eco. So this is kind of silly. And you're shooting it for free, I guess, on the as it's being built, which is kind of funny. I like that you're still booming. You're doing great. Actually, like just peeking here, I know that's cheating, but this is great. You committing resources to booming, and basically you fought him when he made a bunch of camels and whatnot, which are somewhat costly and gold intensive. You saved your gold for the late game, and you fought him with pikemen. So I like where you're at. This is a really good position. All right, so okay. Oh, interesting. All right, I'll talk about that one in a second. So now, as you're starting to think about the late game, you're going into Imperial Age. If you like to have the siege unit being the trebuchet, great. You gotta defend the siege, right? You gotta have things that'll help kind of make sure it doesn't just crash. So your main unit's definitely going to be the Cavalier. I would heavily recommend not spending resources on Paladin until you're like you're not really fighting, I guess. Paladin is such a costly upgrade, and it's like the equivalent cost of like, I don't know, like 10 something, more than 10 Cavalier. But yeah, Cavalier should be the main unit. If he techs a lot into pikemen, or we know he doesn't have Halberdier, but if he has a bunch of pikemen, to deal with that is where the skirmishers will come in. Or if you're feeling really rich on gold, consider getting chemistry and hand cannon, so you can have a double gold unit composition, which will kind of shred everything he's got. But if you're short on gold, elite skirmishers is okay. But once again, keep in mind that you don't have bracer, which makes elite skirms kind of bad for the Franks. And then for some reason, if you always have the backup option, right? If all your castles are down, you can't build more trebuchet, you can't build more siege. That's where that chemistry upgrade is still good for you anyway. Bombard cannons is an option if you build a couple of siege workshops. But a lot of arena games, people tend to not to spread out. Like this would be like gold prime time for you to send like a pikeman or a scout or someone here, right? And just to see what happens, you know. Your light cav are also an option, by the way, in the late game from your stables. Alright, so I promised I'd talk about this too. So they got camel archers. We talked about this being the possibilities, right? Berbers have this very, very good unit, and if they back this up with like pikemen, it's going to be kind of hard for Franks, because like you can't really get in. Your gold units will like die if they engage their pikes, and then their gold units will survive just by virtue of them being range units. So you got to be really, really cautious of this. You have a couple options. You could go the skirmishers. You could even do something funky like going scorpions, because scorpions are once I think you have siege engineers. Yeah, so you could have like decent scorpions in Imperial Age that should have somewhat. They most likely will have better range than the camel archers, and they also tank a lot, right? Unlike Meng-Yang, camel archers don't have the bonus against the siege, so like a scorpion is kind of like pretty decent option to just kind of fend off range units. So those are some things. But yeah, this is gonna be dangerous too. The key for you is to not throw away your knights into camel archers, because he can micro that away to death. He just run around, shoot and run back to his castles and whatnot. This is fine. This is doing nothing. He's just raiding. I see that you're in castle, or he's still in castle age, so he's gonna lose his. This is really good. It's because you had a better eco than him, i.e. more villagers, and you know, even though you didn't prioritize the farms in castle age, you still made it to Imperial Age faster than him. This is pretty good. You're tearing down his castles, which means he can't produce more janitors, or excuse me, camel archers. So that's good, and you're keeping your trebuchets alive. You're teching into Cavalier. Yeah, so this I disagree with, but it's your style of playing. It's fine. I don't like Paladin this early. I would rather have literally 10 more Cavalier, and then really push the advantage as soon as these things are down. Get the Cavalier immediately to run into his economy, and then you can always tech into Paladin later, like kind of as you build momentum, right? But anyway, this is fine. The pikemen here are actually decent because you're trebbing from the safety of your castle, so his genitors can't threaten your trebuchets. And he the only thing he could possibly do is try to like run some knights in, right? But that's what your halberdiers are for. So this is pretty good. You got sort of critical mass now. I like it. You got 4, and you got to start tearing down the walls. We'll just slow it down here. Oh yeah, your score is like huge now. So I mean, something you can always improve your gameplay, right? So this is a time where like once you're putting on the pressure, secure the extra gold, or send scouts to see these town centers here, right? Like obviously you're close to the enemy here, and all the attention is focused here, but like it's always good to secure more map control. Like know what the opponent's up to, if they got like production buildings here ready to like send an army from this direction. And then the like that's where also outposts in the late game are also great. They're kind of overpowered actually. They just give you so much vision. But yeah, I would queue all these guys, run them right into his base. He just hit Imperial Age. Okay. Fight or not to fight? Here I would say fight. He doesn't have all the upgrades yet on Camel Archers. He doesn't have elite Camel Archers. He's only got +2 attack. You've got Paladin, and you've teched all of your armor upgrades. So you can chase him. And even if he kites you or whatever, it's worth trying to force the fight. So I would chase, and then I would send a couple more like right into his eco. That would be my recommendation. But yeah, he's gonna try to kite. I wouldn't even worry about camels. They're not that cost effective against knights the way like pikemen are. So this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Be a little cautious here if he gets too far away from you, but I like that you're forcing the fight. Yep, excellent. Yep, and then I would do this. Well, you need way more stables in the Imperial Age. You've got 3 stables at this point. You should be having like 7+ stables, up to like 14 in the late game, and then you should start balancing the eco to have much more on food. As you can see, you're starting to run out of gold. So that's why like securing it early is like, imagine you didn't win that fight and then you started running out of gold. It'd be much harder to like get that back, right? So I would start transitioning into like light cav or something, and then just do the rally point. Set the rally point right here for the stables. You should be having many stables, and then just run him into his base. So he's trying to wall you out. This isn't gonna do anything. I mean, it's just yeah. And then the knights are out here. The camels will die hard to the pikes. Yep, and then you can just delete his town centers, and then keep these guys in, targeting the castles. This game's obviously over, but like if it were closer, just don't forget about the side resources, right? Like securing the map control. All right, I'm gonna speed. Okay, this is obviously over. So what? How many TCs was he on? 1, 2, 3. 3 TC. You're probably on 4, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I would with arena. I recommend getting to like 5 or 6, because like you want to. Oh, here's his other one. You want to like start securing more of the map, and the thing is, the town center only garrisons like 15 villagers, I think. So if your economy is close to like 140 vills, you need at like 7+ TCs to like really secure your economy late game, and then get like castles to secure the rest. But is this gold or? Oh, I guess you had free gold. You had pretty safe gold here. Yes. Okay, so to recap, I think your feudal age build needs to clean up a little bit, because like you were floating wood and then you weren't floating wood. It was kind of an awkward transition and delayed your castle time a little bit. Like a pure fast castle, whoops, a straight up fast castle in arena should be closer to, yeah, this is, you should be closer to 16, actually, but like 15 minutes. And it was just because you spent some wood on like more farms than you needed, and then you had to wait for wood to come in, and then that delayed your blacksmith and market, and then you could have just skipped the barracks. You could have built the barracks later, like on your way up to Castle Age. But other than that, the feudal age was fine. Castle Age, you had a couple little skirmishes. I like that you didn't invest too much into knights. Like, knights do very little against the walls. Like, if the opponent was superior and had all the monks running around, you're just like donating army. So I like that you just like had pikemen and try to secure the relics that you could and contested some other relics. So Castle Age was fine, and then Imperial Age, or late Castle Age, the one thing to clean up was you just had way too much on wood. Like, you needed way more on food, and there's like a delay, right, for the farms to get all seeded before they get converted to food, so it delays your Imperial time. But overall, you still had a very good Imperial time. 36 minutes, pretty good. And then I like that you immediately trebbed down his castles. You didn't like overreact to him having 2 castles here. You didn't like throw all your army at it trying to deny the castle or anything. You waited patiently for Imperial Age. You built the trebuchets, and then you tore it down, and then you just kind of started raiding the shit out of them, which is fine. In the late game post-imp, always be just looking to secure map control with, you build a house, right, if you don't want to build a outpost, but more castles. Ranked castles are so cheap, and you got the fully tech paladin, and then you've got the trash unit, the halberdier, which is really good. Like you played the late game like pretty, from a army composition perspective, is pretty good. Now the opponent, if they, like, the one thing they could have done to really make it really difficult for you was, well, first of all, assuming they had a better economy, which they didn't, they could have gone their own pikemen. They could have gone heavy into pikemen, instead of just like camels, because like I've died to this strategy before. Like, I've played like Malians or something and tried to build a bunch of camels, and then my opponent starts mixing with his knights. He mixes some pikemen, and then I just lose that army composition. So he could have built like more barracks, which he just didn't at all. He was kind of a little narrow-minded there in terms of building, trying to tech into the camel archer, but just it's slow to accumulate that critical mass before they can start like one-shotting units. But yeah, he made a pretty big mistake, honestly, investing that heavily into camels, and then he didn't focus enough on the economy. But camel late game, if he had elite camel archers supported by pikemen, that would have been pretty difficult. Like, I think Paladin still wins, but it'd been much more difficult for you. And he can still flood with knights or cavalier in the late game, right? He still has the option because the Berbers knights just cost so little. Anyway, good games. Racking up the elo points.